The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Senior Show. I'm your co-host, Neil Himmelstein, Main Street Planning Group, and host of the Main Street Code for Financial Success, here with Tim Kennedy. Tim, say hello, Tim.
Hey, what's happening? How is everybody? Tim Kennedy here, your reverse mortgage professional.
Fantastic. And tell them what the Senior Show is all about, Tim.
Hey, it's our goal to help seniors today, navigate change.
Exactly.
With planning and experience and peace of mind, right? It's our motto, Neil.
You got it, baby. And we're here with Kelly Koukou. And Tim had to call in today because he got stuck in traffic on the LIE. I don't know if any of you ever gotten stuck in traffic in the LIE. Is that a thing?
Neil, it's only a thing Monday to Sunday, 24/7.
Right. Life happens, doesn't it? And change happens. And, I'm here with Kelly Koukou, who's a commercial real estate broker. And you want to talk about change. The Long Island economy and everybody's life has changed so much in the last 10 years. We were talking before about COVID and how the commercial real estate industry has changed and how Long Island has changed. Kelly, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us who you're with and what you're all about.
My name is Kelly Koukou. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I'm a partner in a company called Lee & Associates. We have 80 offices around the country. We basically do every aspect of commercial real estate, development, sales, repositioning, leasing. We cover all facets of commercial real estate.
And Tim, I know you work with a lot of seniors, as do I. But going into assisted living or thinking about assisted living, but if they could only save themselves with the asset they have. Kelly and I were just talking about that with his own mom, how they talked about doing something with what you do, Tim. So tell her, his mom lived in the house by herself, and Kelly wanted to, and his brother suggested to his mom that, hey, why don't you free up some of the equity in your house so you could stay there, right?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole premise is, most seniors today want to age in place. They want to stay in the home that they're living in. But Kelly, you know this better than I do. The 55 and over communities are popping up all over the place.
Everywhere.
A huge market, and they're not a bad place to live either.
No,
because you have everything consolidated in one place.
Absolutely.
So, Kelly, in your work, do you work with developers that do the 55-plus communities?
Yes. Yeah. 55-plus communities are a lot easier to build because you don't have to worry about the school system. Your biggest issue when you start building is the school system gets involved, trying to find out how many units you're getting, and then they start counting how many units are in existence, what the age of the kids are. But once you do 55 and over, a lot of that doesn't play into it.
So we do have an aging population. Our kids really can't afford to buy houses on Long Island right now.
Right.
And we find kids moving back to Long Island in their parents' house. Thank you, I'm raising my hand. And that's a reality for a lot of us. So these 55 and up housing units are interesting. Tim, you were telling me one time that you could actually borrow from your house and purchase something. And so maybe your kids could move into your house and you can move out of your house. Tell me how that works, because I'm interested in that one.
Sure. I'm not too sure I explained it that way, but...
Oh, okay.
That sounds pretty good, though.
I have clients that are using their home, taking out a reverse mortgage on their primary residence, and then using the funds from the reverse mortgage, accessing the equity in their primary residence, and then using those funds to purchase investment properties. And then what they're doing is they're taking the rental incomes from that property and paying down the reverse mortgage. And then when they do that enough, they take the proceeds out of the reverse mortgage again, and they're purchasing a second and third investment property. And from there, what this particular individual was thinking about doing is now leaving those three houses to his three children.
Wow.
As part of his legacy plan.
That's crazy. I love that.
Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, people don't realize as they're investing, as they're doing, and they're living, the old school thought was pay off your house, get a pension, live on Social Security. None of that works anymore. And people don't realize they got this humongous asset that they can't touch in retirement.
That was my parents, right? That was my parents. They both had Social Security. My dad had a pension. My mom had a pension. There was never this retirement income planning conversation that we're having these days, because, they were, and they had their free and clear home, and that's what they left us when they passed away. But they primarily survived and lived off of the Social Security and pension. That doesn't necessarily work today.
Right. And how about liquidity? Also, so just relying on that without having any liquidity, like, hey, I want to go on vacation, or hey, my kid's getting married, or my grandkid, just graduated high school and I want to help them out. Where's the liquidity in just relying on potentially a pension, which many people don't have anymore, Social Security, which you can't quite rely on, and hasn't adapted the rules? Yes, they have inflation in Social Security, but they never adapted to the taxation and everything else. It's still at such a low minimum level that anything more they give you, they take back in taxes. So
right. Well, and listen, when Social Security was created, in all fairness, it was never supposed to be an end-all. It was only supposed to be a supplemental income. And not only that, but do you know what the lifespan of Social Security was when it was first created?
It was 5 or 10 years. That was it.
It was less than that, because people retired at 62. They didn't live past 65, so it was only maybe a year or so that Social Security was supposed to be used for. But now we're living so much longer,
right?
And it's a concern. But let's get back to Kelly. Kelly, you still there?
I'm here.
Hey, man, I'm curious, with the onset of COVID in the last 5-6 years and the amount of people that are now working remotely, me specifically, right? My corporate office is down in South Carolina, and, I'm working out of one of my bedrooms. One of my kids moved out, and I converted it into an office. So what's happening with the commercial space and the downsizing of space and all these people working remotely now? What's happening in your world?
Well, like you said, during COVID, they rewrote the playbook. So you would go back to COVID, the buildings were shut. They slowly started opening it up. I think if you looked at the COVID map in 2021, you'd say maybe 50% of the people had gone back and the square footage had shrunk by 50%. Now, if you look at the city, a lot of the people are being forced to go back to their offices. I mean, you destroy the market. If people don't go to their offices, they don't go out to eat, they don't shop. So it's not just affects that office, it affects everybody. But stuff is changing. I mean, Manhattan decided that, look, there's a glut of office space. There's Class A, Class B, Class C. Certain areas are letting residential developers buy Class C product, convert it into residential, and they're sort of shrinking the real estate base. So, and Melville right now has basically, there's a process in place to take the older office buildings and convert those to residential. There is a glut. I mean, there's no doubt there's a glut. But what's happened is there's a flight to quality. The guys that were in the C are now moving into B. So the ones that are really hurt is the less quality product that is now mostly vacant.
Yeah. I mean, it was a major concern. I know the company that I was with at the time, they shrunk their office down to probably less than half of what it originally was.
Right.
Everybody's working remote. Yeah.
Right.
And I had asked Kelly earlier today, we were talking about something privately about, interest rates and how that affects, it certainly affects what you do, Tim, and it certainly affects what Kelly does, and it affects everybody. How much affects our kids buying a house. It affects, our parents, if they want to take equity out of the house. It affects real estate people in, they got to depend on finding money where they can earn money on it by leasing something out. And they have to get a return on their investment if they're going to invest in this real estate space. So maybe, Kelly, you can address that a little bit about how interest rates are really affecting, the commercial space.
Interest rates basically affect the value of an asset. So the higher the interest rates, the less value the real estate asset has. And that has been the problem for the past few years. Because interest rates go up, you put a property in the market that you think is worth a certain amount, and all of a sudden it's not.
Right. That's very interesting. You're listening to The Senior Show. And Tim, how do they get a hold of you, my friend?
Tim Kennedy here, and they can reach me at 516-729-6040 or timtalksreverse.com. Kelly, how can they reach you?
My cell phone is 516-835-7833. It's the best way to get me.
And this is Neil Himmelstein. The best way to get a hold of me is 631-647-4694, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to The Senior Show. This is Neil Himmelstein, co-host with Tim Kennedy and Kelly Koukou. Tim, take it away.
Hey, Tim Kennedy here, The Senior Show, helping you navigate change with planning experience and peace of mind. We're here with Kelly from Lee and Associates.
Yes.
Commercial real estate. Kelly, tell us a little bit. How'd you get into this market? Because I know how I got into my business, and I'm always curious to know how you found your spot in life.
Yeah, Neil and I were sort of talking about this. I had a company that was in the cell phone business back in the 80s when the system first started. And I had sold it to MCI, which was a driving force back then. And then I took some money and we sort of looked around for what we wanted to do or what I wanted to do. And I like commercial real estate. And I ended up at some point at CB Richard Ellis, which is probably the largest brokerage house in the world. I think they're up to about 35,000, 40,000 people. And I was with them for about 15 years, and then I had an offer I couldn't refuse to move over to Lee & Associates as a partner, and that was in 2013. And I've been there since.
Right.
Wow, you've been there long. In our industry, Kelly, anybody at a company that long is very unheard of. Or in the mortgage business, the real estate business, a lot of these, they jump around every other year or two. They always think the grass is greener on the other side.
On the other side, right.
My philosophy has always been, something. Sometimes you got to fertilize it and water it.
100%.
Take care of it and make it grow.
Yes.
I'm in the mortgage business, the residential side of it, 1 to 4 family, and in the last 15 years, I've been specifically in the reverse mortgage market, helping seniors over the age of 62, age in place, maintain financial independence with the use of a reverse mortgage. It's no longer what it was, like it was 20, 30 years ago. But my biggest thing is the guidelines and the documentation and the paper. Everything's in triplicate. Everything between the federal government, the individual state governments. The paperwork that we have these clients sign. I mean, we're killing more trees than forget about it. Right. I always had the impression that in the commercial market, commercial real estate, it was much different. That they treated the applicant differently, almost like if they're buying a commercial unit, then they must be, a lack of a better term, but more intelligent than somebody buying a residential home. Does that even make sense to me?
Well, I mean, look, we're tied into the banks ultimately. I mean, I'll put an asset on the market and we'll value what the bank thinks it's worth. Because that's typically been our first step, because we don't know what the interest rates are going to be 6 months down the line by the time we get this property up and running and listed and marketed. And if you get a bank to sort of size it up and says, look, this is what we think it's worth, not what you guys think it's worth, it gets you somewhere down the line. So when you then find a buyer for it, you just basically send them to the bank and say, okay, look, this is the valuation they gave us. Go talk to them. If you do it the other way and you value based on what you think and you base expectations on what you think, ultimately it's going to go to a bank to get financed. They're going to tear it apart and everything's going to collapse at the last second.
It's interesting.
So I know, like in the residential side of it, we base the value off of the house on how houses are selling in that area. Right. And that's how we come up with the appraisal. I was always under the impression on the commercial side, the value of that development or that unit or that building was based off of the potential income that building or business can make.
Okay, so that's the first step. But the key to this is, I mean, if you're driving down a street and you got a strip center, and that strip center's got a pizza place and a hair salon and a nail salon, and then you drive down another mile and you have another one with the same thing.
Kelly, you forgot about the smoke shop.
Well, there we go.
Smoke shop.
There we go.
Right.
And those guys, I got to tell you, it's a lot of people in the city opened up illegally. And there's a lot of them that were sort of being valuated because they thought they were legit. And a lot of those guys, the feds came in, took them all out. You have a lot of vacant CBD shops now in the city because of all this nonsense that they did.
You know, I did want to ask this, Kelly. Where do you see the commercial market 3 to 5 years from now? Because, like we say, everything's changing. And where do you see it going? I mean, here on Long Island.
Well, the office market is catching up. I mean, it was at a point at 2020, 2021, where, like you said, a lot of people decided they wanted to work from the house. A lot of companies let people work from the house, and then trying to get them to come back was tough. But now it's started. You have new companies coming in. You have a lot of businesses from the city that their partners decided they don't want to commute every day. And they took some of that space. So, look, we're not 100% where we were in 2019, but we're probably 90% of the way back.
Right.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Is there any, if you were an investor, what kind of opportunities are there right now for investors to say, hey, I like this market, I want to get in? What kind of opportunity do you see?
The best way to get in is to buy something that needs work. If you buy something where somebody has already massaged, they've already renewed the leases, they've already fixed the space up, you basically have no upside. But if you find something that's got some vacancy and the rents are below market because the property was not properly managed, and you're able to buy that and fix the property, clean it up, raise the rents, all of a sudden your cap rate when you bought it could have been at 6.5%. But then when you sell it and your income's gone up a couple $100,000, that 6.5% translates into real dollars of increased yield. Interesting.
So if someone was buying their first property, like commercial venture.
Without experience?
Yeah.
I mean, office is tough. The problem with office is every time a new tenant comes in, you basically have to redo the entire space. I mean, somebody comes in, they've got 3 offices in a space and a big bullpen and a kitchenette. Next guy comes in looking for that size. They want 5. So now you got to go in, demo everything, start from scratch. So for an office guy, it's a big expense. Retail, generally, it's a vanilla box. They just got to deliver you a box, and the guy coming in does it. But on that end, the issue becomes is a lot of the retail stuff takes 6 months, 8 months to get approved, especially if it's food. So it's not like a stock market. You put money in, and the broker tells you this is a good stock, or you put in a money market. You have to go in there with eyes open. It's a long play.
It's a long play. When we're talking about diversifying assets, you have to look at short-term, mid-term, long-term goals, and commercial real estate is not something you kind of like want to, let me just pop my head in and out. It's not like a stock where it's not liquid. And we talk about liquidity, whether you're a homeowner or a commercial buyer, liquidity is a big thing. Mm-hmm. And having access to liquidity, like Tim can give you access to liquidity, right, is huge. So liquidity, and then at the same time, while you're doing all this crazy liquidity and long-term and short-term, you want to protect the back end.
Yes.
You want to make sure that you have the proper insurance, which allows you to take more risk.
Yes.
By securing the back end.
Yes.
You know, I can put more risk out there if I know if something goes wrong, I'm covered, right? And that's what good investors do. They cover their back end, front end, and you're going to look at short-term, long-term, and mid-term goals. And if you're getting into the commercial real estate business, you want to get in with people who know what they're doing and can advise you.
That's key.
And assess your situation. If you're new to the market, or if you're kind of in between the market, you want to speak to somebody like Kelly who can say, hey, listen, this is not the right thing for you today. Maybe tomorrow, but not today. Maybe this might be better.
Yes.
Maybe you shouldn't even do it.
Yes.
But you know what? Go in with your eyes open. get the knowledge, talk to the right people. Kelly, how do people get a hold of you?
My cell phone is the best way, area code 516-835-7833.
And Tim?
Yeah, man, I'm still here. Tim Kennedy, your certified reverse mortgage professional, and you can reach me at 516-729-6040. Neil, how can they reach you?
631-647-4694. Tim, drive safely. I don't want you to get in any accidents because of the show here. All right, have a great, great evening, everyone.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.